Hi chameleons, and welcome back to my channel. For the ones of the returning visitors as well as for the new visitors of those who are new, I'll do a quick introduction about me before we get into the video. My name is Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness videos as well as sharing my life as an autistic, with also fun and games, tips and advice, and some other host of variety of topics that you may hear or see about on my channel. So if you're into any of these and more want to join me on the bandwagon as part of my YouTube family, feel free to smash that subscribe button at the bottom right hand corner and turn on the notification bell so don't miss any future videos. So today what I'm about to share with you all is based upon the research as I shared based on my own that I have looked into for this topic of autism and aging, what we need to know or all you need to know about it. It's known for basically, it has been proven that neurotypical seniors will present different signs and symptoms along with the characteristic traits as we age. This goes especially for the individuals with autism as well, which you can find more based on the characteristic traits in females, especially for autism, in the icon above me and in the description box below me. Individuals with unique personalities and different circumstances are packaged differently. So imagine it like a box of everyday things, be it a box full of our personality traits, characteristics, our personal qualities, and the whole shebang about us, you know, the whole individual in itself. Autism spectrum, however, isn't a one size fits all category. No, far from it. You see, each person that are autistic will need some form of individualized support regardless what age and stage in their life they're at, basically, as well as their combination needs and whatnot, be it if they need help and assistance with their budgeting or with their housing once in a while, for having a carer to cook, clean for them, and so on and so forth, as an example here. Because as we know, as we age, I know for a fact that many of us autistics may rely on our carers a bit more, depending on what spectrum we're on, for the sake of autism, because as I mentioned, there are different hosts of autism disorders, which obviously I have shared about what is autism in general, which you can again find in the iCard in the description box below you. But you got to realize that some of the autistic individuals, regardless how old they are, some may become independent of their own state, as well as in saying this, that as I said, some of them may be confident enough to do their own stuff, or again relying on a support worker to assist them throughout the day of doing their daily stuff, be it shopping, cleaning, cooking, you name it. They'll probably most likely to be there. Though one thing also, again, to remind you or to remember, that there will be traits and issues beginning to be removed that apply to autistic seniors. Neurotypicals, however, as you may have heard me say a few times of the term in the past or maybe in the present videos, if you've been following me this long, basically has now been trying to become non-existent or has trying to be removed for the sake of the PC people, of the politically correct, of what call them, of the neurotypical, are now basically known as just people without autism, is a more friendlier term. However, autistics also has certain like terminologies or terms they wish to be called, be it person with autism, autistic, person that is autistic person, and the like, which I clearly mentioned. Basically, there's of these interchangeable terminology based on what, you know, autistics would like to be called nowadays, which you can again click in the icon and in the description box below me. So as a reason, the title, basically today I'm going to be talking about autism and aging, of what we need to know, all you need to know, hopefully, in just the one video before I continue to the next part of it. Does autism change as we age? And from that, I've seen and heard and researched for myself also that we've got a long way to go to know if autism does change, however, as we age. I believe that for many of us autistics, we need to be able to talk and to express ourselves and what we want, and that we will also be able to be treated the same respect of, you know, everyday individuals, regardless and how we are spoken to. Because obviously, as I said in one of my videos, that many people belittle me or try to talk me down just because they think, you know, I'm an autistic. They think, based on their arrogance and ignorance, that I am in the head. I don't want to say it too impolitely here to offend anybody, but that's based on my life experience, what have you, when I first got in the diagnostic mode. But as I said before, we should be able to express ourselves freely regardless of, also, like, when it comes down to, what I mean here is also when it comes down to many autistics, when they get overexcited or overstimulated and whatnot, they'll become to known as doing their stimming, which obviously, again, there will be a stimming playlist above me in the iCard, as well as in the description box below me if you want to find out more. Also, I have mentioned how to talk or treat an autistic versus a non-autistic non-verbal autistic, which again will be in the playlist section of the video as well. For many of us autistics, however, no matter how old we are, we wish to be included in everyday activities, be it going to parties and whatnot. Because for me, based on my experiences, even though I might have shared it before, that, as I was growing up, before finding out my diagnosis and during my diagnostics of being an autistic, a person with Aspergers syndrome, but is now classified as autism, just to fit into the DSM-5 manual, that I apparently didn't get many invites. I was excluded. I was very fortunate to be invited once in a while for certain parties and that, regardless how uncomfortable I was. Even though technically speaking, I was a shy young girl at the time when I was growing up. I just kept myself to myself and my books and whatnot, like a bookworm, and just mind my business, even though I did get bullied a lot, based in like either primary, intermediate levels right through to high school, and that's a whole different story, which if you want to find out more, I can link that into the description box below me based on my diagnosis. But for many of us autistics, as I said, no matter how old we are, basically we should feel that we're included in peers or group, basically, as well as feeling accepted by others, as well as also in ourselves of acceptance. To accept ourselves is obviously the first step before people can, do it for us, of the acceptance. Because as I said before, it comes to the point now about awareness versus acceptance, which I shared about on this particular topic, what should come first or whatever, which I'll link in the iCard above me and in the description box below me. But I believe also we should be able to make the decision in our lives, no matter what we're doing in our lives, be it if we are finding the right job for us or the right accommodation needs, right house, etc., for us to grow and thrive regardless. Because I believe also, as I said, in saying this, that there has been many times that many people may have tried to do the work for us or speak for us when they think they know what's best for us regardless. So again, as I said, this will be in the description and in the iCard below me, as well as also the series of transitioning, which again in the iCard above me and in the description box below me. Obviously we are also humans, and of course we do make mistakes as well, and basically if we say or do anything out of the ordinary, even though many of us autistics are really straight to the point, blunt and whatnot, we say what we say what we mean, do what we say, some of us do. But as you know, basically, as I said before, like for me and maybe for many of us autistics, we should be able to be sure to actually accept our mistakes and fix them if we can, if there was an answer to that problem, physically, mentally, or what have you. As an example, we had a disagreement with our partner and that we need to maybe find a way to just fix it, because obviously I believe that sometimes some things can be fixed if it wasn't broken in the first place, or as some people may disagree with me on that front, some of it that is already, not broken, fixed, shouldn't be. It should be the things that are broken to be fixed, regardless what it may be. It's all about the first step is acknowledging our mistake and actually taking accountability for our actions based on that mistake, or in this case taking accountability for what might have been said too. But anyways, as I said before, sometimes as we grow older or transition to our different basically stages in life, like from a child to an elderly autistic, that we tend to be forgotten about of our diagnosis, especially after when we hit either in our late teens or into our early adulthood life, as most diagnosis has been done for younger children, because there's always more help, more services, more assistance to help accommodate to their needs that are always readily available. As again, as I said before, for us that are transitioning from teen to adult life as well as later life, that there are only limited resources and information about how you can assist us as we age, but with the careful consideration of research and whatnot, or just getting to know the autistic regardless how old they are, and talking to them and that every day, you might be able to match fit their needs and accommodations and so on and so forth. From what I can remember from my research, there are at least 4 more main differences between autism seniors and children alike, and they are as follows. 1, older autistic people are more likely to be able to read facial expressions than young ones of an autistic child or a teen. But obviously I talked more about the, you know, body language and facial expressions, and that which you can click in the description and in the archive above me. 2 is you're less likely to have any more memory issues. Obviously, it's all about their brain plasticity becomes more richer, therefore becomes less dense over time as we age. 3 is your sensory profile, so therefore basically for autistic adults, however, likely to be in a less cluttered room, building, etc., may choose to avoid overwhelming sensory, you know, situations, and that goes for autistic children as well. However, that they'll try to avoid overwhelming sensory, you know, situations. Again, basically that will come under like the meltdowns versus also the hypo versus the hyposensitivity and all that jazz, which again I'll look for that as a reference for you in the icon and in the description. 4, having different language and mobility issues to either autism children and adults or NeuroTypical seniors. My hope here is that this will hopefully have moved on from struggling to coming to terms of who we are, basically to a place of acceptance, because I'm all about, you know, acceptance and inclusion, obviously, of an individual, no matter who you are, based on maybe your race, gender, disability, and everything else. The 5 key areas of aging and autism I want to hopefully discuss in this video will be as follows. 1 is your memory, 2 your movement, 3 your sensory profiling, 4 your language, and 5 your autonomy. So let's begin now. We apparently, as autistics, for many of us, will take things literal of what you say and do directly to or towards us. This is sad but true. I have talked about, you know, literal thinking versus, you know, literal actions and whatnot, but I'll link in the icon above me and in the description box below me. Also, this goes for us with black and white thinking as well. Again, I talked about this a few weeks ago, which again I'll link in the description and in a cupboard above me. For most of us autistics, we're influenced by memory that will then dictate to us of the routine and expectations. Again, there's one about routine, which you can click in the description box or in the icon above me. Rather than doing some negotiation and using our common sense, however, of the appreciation of change. Yet again, many of us autistic don't like changes, not so much, regardless what it may be it the changes in the environment or the changes of a given situation. Like he said, if an autistic was transitioning from a young child to a teen, and then they just without warning have them been taught about maybe puberty, or another one is for some autistics may not like the change of their routine versus also the change of maybe the environment of if they were moving house, because obviously for many of us we get so comfortable where we are and we lose our friends if we've made any, losing the sense of belonging, of knowing where everything is obviously in that place, and we have to start our life again afresh. Short-term memory may present some problems for us, as we may tend to forget or get distracted if we were doing some task at hand that was given to us. I talked about executive functioning and how it works for me as an autistic, which again you can click in the description box as well as in the icon above me if you want to find out more about me as an autistic, because obviously every autistic is different how they work, but I'm sure some autistics may agree with me how I work may work similar to them or vice versa, but each to their own. Well, this is happening with us autistics. We tend to try and socialize either with our peers or with the neurotypical, and that while we are socializing we are actually mimicking or copying every movement, action, what they're saying, the tone of voice, and so on and so forth, as well as moreover, like many of us autistics will likely to sit and watch a far distance to see how others around us act, talk, speak, think, and so on and so forth again, and that will then therefore come about the mimicking versus also, as I shared, based on the terminology shape shifting. Most of the time, or shall we say most of the day, basically for us autistics, we will then end up having to mask ourselves to try and hopefully get through the day. I have talked about masking again in the icon in the description box below. So mask ourselves on how we really feel, think and speak, and be sure to get everything done in that given day. Yet masking for us can affect our mental health and our well-being. Sometimes with all this mimicking as well as masking, we do this as a form of a protection line for ourselves to not get hurt from others, basically in a form of maybe someone abusing us or taking us for granted or what have you, because some or many of us autistics will be trustworthy and loyal and all that with our strong traits, and we might not be able to tell the difference between who's real, who's not for us, because we just invite everybody in our circle, and many of them will tend to abuse us. Not saying all, but many. And also that we do this obviously in the hope of many of us to fit in and blend in to the peers or group. I believe we shouldn't have to fit in and blend in, as I've mentioned so many times before. We should be able to be our own individual selves. Basically, we should be able to accept ourselves to whom what we are, far beyond the labels, which again I have talked about labels with the labels problem and removing the labels, which you can can see in the iCard and in the description box below. When it comes to doing our everyday tasks, however, that we gotta be sure that everything is done accurately and precisely on time, but with the guiding daily interactions, memory will mean precision, not even given in to us forgetting. The autistic brain plasticity, as I said, decreases less with age, and that it is approximately to the neurotypical brain. We can build memories. We should be able to build memories, yes, as basically we can. If there's a form of connection with what was done, who was there, where everything was with our interactions going on, as well as our reception ability, objects permanence, knowing something still exists even when it's out of sight, out of mind. Apparently there has been some form of myth that is based on autistics who can talk as well as they can tell others what they need. It's estimated about 70% will use speech while 30% are intellectually challenged, which are autistic individuals that are non-speakers. Don't forever think that a non-verbal autistic, when you come to meet them, can't speak or think for themselves. Some are really bright and that they just need some other methods or means to communicate to you. You'll be really amazed, they're really bright. Also be patient with those that are non-verbal autistic. The nature of autism groups from either with or without a learning disability can dictate difficulties locating the connection of thoughts and feelings that allows them to have enough time to process and collect their thoughts, however, and words to present them in a conversation, no matter how it is expressed, either through words, pictures, or some form of technology that has been introduced, or some form of apps, especially too. This is less common in autistic seniors, however, communication need will present itself differently in different formats to accommodate different learning styles. As we age, we become more lonely and want more connection from people, face-to-face contact value, versus maybe if we learn different types of technology, software and apps to be into communication mode with our friends, family through communication apps like your Skype, your Discord, your Messenger, your whatever app that has a form of communication as well. With us autistics, remember, more than likely forgetting how to develop social awareness as well as social awareness, but tempered as possible increases in depression and anxiety, as well as change circumstances or situations that we all come to face in our lives. Building positive self-worth and autonomy counteracts to poor mental health if we choose to do something by ourselves that may cause harm or danger to others. As we age, many of us autistics will struggle with making and keeping friends in our lives as well as in our sex cycle, because obviously it's true. I've shared about, how to make friends with an autistic person, which again in the description as well as in the iCard. Sometimes for some of us, we may end up having a lack of motivation to join certain classes, clubs, socialize in general with our peers or even with our family, or even just the neurotypical. In autistic elders, however, there are an increased chance in mental health issues as well as immune disorders. Also for us autistics, we all have interests and obsession that are common, and this can be a blessing or a curse for many of us. Yes, it's up to us and how we perceive it and do with our obsessions and interests. Again, I have talked about autistic children with interests and obsessions, which again you can click in the description box. We should be able to have the freedom from any external control and influences. We should be able to have the freedom to act a certain way, as I mentioned before. If we choose to stand when something is really overwhelming, we should be able to. It's our given down right. We should be able to be brave enough without the fear of judgment, fear of basically abandonment or what have you from our peers or even just the neurotypicals, to ask for help when we need it. We need to use a universal design that will allow everyone to a greatest extent possible use programs, services and facilities within and around the home and in the community. Examples of access is like maybe some public building, parks, provision of transport, information and communication systems, and so on and so forth. We may now and again get asked though, however, about our obsession and interest of certain questions like, can you do something else now? Or do you like something else besides X? Could you change it to something else? Believe it or not, we would if we could. For some of us, this is our safety net or safe haven, as it is something that we are familiar with. But I'm sure that many of us autistics are willing for others, as we should be able to be comfortable in ourselves to actually change it or what have you, or for you guys to be happy enough to actually show us what else is there for us to do to keep ourselves busy, and happy. Yet one thing to remember, that we shouldn't have to change too much basically in ourselves just to, suit others in the box of expectations, as I call it. We all have different personality quirks and so much more, so we should be able to love ourselves more and more. Number 4, movement. Not just the physical activity on what we do on the daily, but with the interoception and responding to the right motor action in our body. We are more likely to battle with catatonia, which this isn't talked about often. This is all about our body closing down and freezes physically with the stress than our non-autistic peers, obviously, because obviously, again, that's all about the autistic shutdown, meltdown phases that comes into play here. Obviously, and what happens here, some of us may lose our speech or our movement, or we could lose both when that happens. And to top it off, this will possibly lead to a sensory system shutdown, and some of us will then just in that shutdown will just shut down automatically. And for our shutdown, some of it may last for a few hours, a day, a month, a few more extra months, or even a year, depending on the given situation, what they were faced with. If it was something so traumatic, it might take longer for us to get out of it. But again, this will need to be the word patient for us when you do feel that we are in that mode. Last but not least, number 5 is your sensory profiling, which is a series of standardized screening questionnaires that help caregivers identify sensory impairments in clients of all ages regardless. Autistic adults go through a series of sensory dysphoria and are usually over and underwhelmed according to the demands of our everyday life. Sensory overload videos you can watch in the playlist, again, as I said, clicking in the description below me, sort of thing. Again, we all need to find ways to accommodate our everyday senses, such as maybe wearing sunglasses if we have to indoors, like inside shop that has strong bright lights, versus maybe restaurants that are too bright and gives us headaches, because I have done it in the past, wearing sunglasses in certain stores. Many people give me a funny look, and it's just like, well, I know it's not sunny indoors. I'm just doing it for the sake of protecting my eyes and not getting too much, headache and dizziness, because in the last few times, there's not many people around. And obviously, I noticed that it could be a prejudgment on our part for many people thinking, why are we given this, special treatment? Again, it's all about meeting our needs, I believe. But we need to be sure that we don't make it all about us too much because of them. Some of us also just feel that we should be able to be accepted and whatnot. I know for a fact that people can seem to misunderstand us autistics to why we act a certain way and all that, when they feel that they don't, we don't need something at that given moment of time. People can be so rude and impolite to us to tell us what they think is best for us. Again, this is all about ableism, so you can click in the description box below me of a particular topic. Don't you hate it when ... is like a part of my ableist and old series, which then therefore I will link up also some of the just the link to the playlist also, so you can understand more to what I'm saying. Key note to remember here, obviously on this part though, is that we need to be understood, and that our needs and accommodations are met by others, as well as, making a world of difference for us. We need to be able to trust you and what you do to help us. Again, this is all about what you can say and do to us autistics versus what you don't say and do to us autistics, which again, hopefully I'll look it up into one of my videos and link it in the description for you guys. Last and not least, to end this, is the art of communication. All communication process of aging requires appropriate communication, right? You gotta find the right communication method and technique for the autistic, be it whatever age and stage in life, because as I said before, we have different style of learning versus different style of communication. Be it some of us are verbal, some of us are non-verbal, and therefore we need, maybe, as I said before, to recap, that we might need some form of software, a technology device, or we might need some apps or some form of drawings or emojis or whatever to describe how we feel if we're non-verbal. Sometimes many of us autistics, especially myself, I love to express myself in emojis anyways, because obviously, as you can see, I'm verbal. Some days I might not be verbal, so each to their own, because obviously some days I'll be just quiet as a mouse. Another thing we need to do is we need to connect with each other via our needs and accommodations, because obviously, again, as I said before, each to their own, with different autistics as well as other people with different disabilities, they'll have different accommodations and needs of what needs to be met. One is understanding what it means to move around or just move in general. Understanding why it's good to look after ourselves on all levels, be it spiritually, mentally, financially, physically, and so much more. Another one is understanding before I can do something for myself. But to end this, as we age, no matter who and what we are or what we got, we want to be the best version of ourselves, to enjoy the life to its fullest, and also to just maybe make a legacy of our own, to remember Aspie, you know, from our family, friends, or whoever, if we do. So therefore, basically, this quickly ends my video of all about aging and autism, what you need to know. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Smash the like if you did. Comment below, basically, if you feel that maybe I've missed out anything, or you want to just start up a question like maybe for autistics or just people in general, if you have done your research or not. Do you believe that autism does change or affect us as we age? As well as, you know, if you do believe so, what are the key factors you believe, you know, affects us as we age, you know, so to speak. And all further ado, guys, thanks for the support, thanks for watching. Follow me on my social medias as it comes up, and also just a quick heads up also, for those of you who are watching, as you are aware, I am hoping to start my project very soon based on my podcast and everything, but I'm still looking into funding for that as well as some other projects. So if you're not aware of what Patreon is all about, Patreon is for people that are raising funds for themselves, be it music creators, content creators, or what have you, to support them into what they have to do financially, be it covers the cost of their rent, their maybe travel, if they have to travel, their recording equipment, their, you know, electronic equipment, say if they needed a new camera and whatnot. And all further ado, guys, you will see some ties hopefully linked up in my part of that account, which hopefully will be linked in the description box below you if you want to support me there. Be much appreciated. And guys, thanks for support, thanks for watching, do what love we do. Until next time, Aspie signing out, and I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.